Okay, in this next little part I'm going to extrude for the tusk. So here I'm in my side view and I'm going to do another loop cut. So Control R, left click, and I'll probably slide it up right about there. Let's see, I'm going to switch into face mode, so I'm going to press Control Tab, switch into face mode, and it's going to probably be this one right here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do an inset, so I'm going to press I, do an inset, and then I can go ahead and I can scale it a little bit. Maybe I'll scale it on the y-axis a little bit. I can then go ahead and grab it just to kind of get it in position. Again, I'm going to switch to vertex mode just so I can box select a little bit of the other geometry here, just to get everything right. Get the right placement before I start extruding. Okay, scaling, rotating a little bit, grabbing. Alright, there we go. Alright, so I'll switch back into face mode. Take this guy right here. I'm going to extrude outward now. Okay, now that I've come outward, I'm going to go ahead and start extruding downward here. So this is the kind of the first thing you've done at an angle. So just be kind of mindful of that. So again, grab, scale because it is getting smaller, tapers down. Okay. So I don't like in the front view here, I'm not crazy about how the tusks are so close to the trunk. You can see they're actually going inside the trunk a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the top and I'm going to deselect. I'm going to switch into vertex mode and take these top vertices here and I'm going to bring them in on the x-axis a little bit. Maybe scale them in a little bit just to give them a little bit more of a rounded feel. There we go. Now I'm going to get back into face mode and I'm going to select that bottom face there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select all of the tusk here. Okay, so I've got pretty much all of the tusk here. Again, it's always before you start doing the action, make sure that you've checked your selection. So I've got all of the tusk except for the back, or sorry, I've got all of the tusk except for the top segment, the part that's actually coming out. And now what I want to do is I want to rotate this outward. So I'm going to press R, and if I just rotate, I could free rotate. That's not bad the way it's going out, and you can see the angle that I have here. If I try rotating on the z-axis, that's not too bad. So I'm rotating on the z-axis, and that feels pretty good. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'll want to move it out away from the trunk, of course. Maybe another Z rotation a little bit, have it turn out a little bit more. There we go. Something like that. Okay, so that's definitely better. It's definitely not going into the trunk anymore now, and it's coming out. So you guys can go ahead and play around with that. You can scale it some more, you can shape it some more with grab, but for the most part, that's it. Just make sure the trunk is not going into, make sure the tusks are not going into the trunk. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the tail. Okay, so the tail is very much like the trunk. We're going to select top back side here, and I'm going to recommend an inset. So and then you can inset it. This would be a huge tail, so I'm going to scale this on the Z-axis just to bring it on down. I'm going to rotate this a little bit so it's not pushing into the back side. There we go. And I'm going to extrude out. Ooh, and I can see a little problem here. I didn't think about that. Because I did an inset, you can see that it's actually extruding out two tails. So I'm going to Control Z and undo that, undo the inset. Okay. Alright, so I think I'll just go ahead and scale down that face a little bit, and then I'll extrude out, so that way they're joined, and then I'll go ahead and scale that down. There we go. Much better. Okay, so once that's done like that, I'm going to switch to edge mode, bring that down a little bit, maybe bring this down a little bit. So here's where I would be really kind of just constantly switching back and forth between face mode and vertex mode. Okay, so I could take this bottom one here and just start extruding that outward. So I'll go ahead and extrude that. Again, I'll rotate it, grab it, bring it down. And this is where things are at kind of a wonky angle here. So again, just grabbing, rotating, again looking from the side. His tail is way too wide. I'll fix that a little bit. Right now I just want to get the basic shape here. So now that I'm rotating downward, I can go ahead and come in, and then maybe I'll go ahead and extrude again, and I'll scale up a little bit to represent the fact that his tail does get bigger at the end. There we go, maybe not that big. Okay, so the tail is kind of a mess. That's alright. I didn't expect the tail to give me this much trouble, but it did. Ooh, I see what happened. My tail is totally crunched. It lost, and you can see this is what happens. Ooh, he's got a flat tail. That is not good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I can see that these verts need to all come out, so I'm going to go ahead and try to fix that. Oh, and you know what I think happened is I think that, yep, these vertices came in. I'm gonna and they got sewn together, so I'm gonna turn off clipping. There we go. So if I turn off clipping, then I can actually pull these apart. This bottom here is just kind of a mess. This would be a good thing for me to just select these verts here, and I'm just going to press X and delete those vertices. So sorry there, elephant. Okay, so I need to kind of untangle this here. It's a little bit of a mess. Yeah, I'm not liking what went on here. I think I'm going to basically just redo the tail. I'm going to go up a little higher and delete all these verts here. There we go. There we go. Okay. So now the tail is returned back to normal a little bit. I'm going to bring the tail out a little bit more so it's not pinching in. Okay, so here's a good example. I'm going to turn clipping back on. I'm going to bring this in a little bit to start to shape it a little bit better. It's always a good idea to start shaping your subject as you go along. Don't save it for later. Okay. Alright, so now I want to select these here, and I'm going to patch this up by pressing F to make a face. I'm going to save just in case. Okay, that looks pretty good. Grab these, scale them down just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video because you don't need to watch me do this. But I will be more careful this time, and I'll see you when I'm done. Okay, so I'm back, and here is the close-up of the tail. You can see that there. So all I did was kind of untangle the vertices. It happens, and just basically extruded it a few times downward, and then extruded and scaled just to give the look of the hair at the end of the tail there. So that's what it looks like. Again, just constantly looking to shape the elephant and just make sure the proportions look all right. The roundedness is happening there. Okay, so there's, other than little tweaks and polishes, the only thing that's really missing right now are the ears, and I haven't quite decided if I want to do some bit of more modeling to get the eye socket and maybe the eyebrow. That might not, that might be too detailed, but kind of make that decision a little bit later on. Okay, so I will see you in the last part.